Good afternoon, Winnie. Thank you very much for the opportunity to talk with you, to have a podcast, and I will also put it on YouTube with you. It's an honor for you to get the opportunity to interview you. So if you could share your experience, maybe let me introduce Wini Rizkiningayu is the champion of table topic speech at Toastmasters District 87 contest held on 30th of May 2020. And I'm Ronawati Wongso, your host. Welcome, Winnie.
Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you very much, Toastmaster Rona. It's a pleasure for me to be part of your podcast as well as your YouTube video. And hopefully by this, I can share my experience not only on the district competition, but also Toastmaster and public speaking as a whole.
Yeah, thank you very much. I think if you could share about your experience, your journey in Toastmaster with all of us.
So I started Toastmasters in 2017, actually. It was actually just a coincidence. So at that time, I was having my sabbatical. So I was working in oil and gas for, I think, around 11 year-ish. And I decided to take 1 year sabbatical. So I'm not working just to figure out. I wasn't working, so I used that time to figure out what I want in life and where my life's direction was going to go. And I often visit at America in Pacific Place for their events because it's interesting and it involves USA education, which is something that at that time I was trying to pursue. And one evening I bumped into a Toastmaster meeting. So I've heard about Toastmaster for quite a while. Ever since I worked in Balikpapan, I've heard about Toastmaster, but in Balikpapan at that time, there was only closed Toastmaster Club, only for Chevron employees. I was working for Schlumberger back then. So I could not join the Toastmaster Club. So when I bumped into the Toastmaster meeting, I thought, you know what, I'll just give it a try. So I came, right? So I came as a guest, and then there was a table topic session, and I decided that uh, I'd just raise my hand and try the table topics, and it went great. I think I came as a guest for like 4 to 6 times before actually deciding to just register as a Toastmaster members. And ever since that time, I am a proud member of Toastmaster Metropolitan Club, and I really feel like I get a new family in Toastmaster. So on 2017, I joined Toastmaster for a year before I decided to jump into the Ex-Co's wagon. I was a VPE from I think 2018 2019. I was the VPE for the club, and at that time we were transitioning between the old curriculum and the new curriculum pathway. And at that time, because I was on my sabbatical, so I kind of like applied a lot of managerial skills that I learned in my work into my work as VPE. So creating a transition, so encouraging the member old and new to embrace pathway, create a program called pathway pioneers, and build some sort of like knowledge management on pathway. And I feel like Toastmaster is not only about public speaking but also applying a lot of life skills like managerial skills, strategic planning skills, even transformation, your transformation skills. If you're in managerial position and you need to do transformation, you would need certain set of skills. And I think that those masters also helped me cultivate those kind of skills. And not only that, I got a new family. We were so close as an ex-cos at that time, and I carry the friendship until now with me. And obviously, one of the most exciting part to be a Toastmaster is the competition, because I think it is a very powerful tool for everyone. So not only me, because you got a stage, you got people actually paying attention. So if you could use that to leverage your purpose in life, whatever message that you want to deliver, for me, it's a platform to spread the message of the importance of well-being. So I think competitions and other opportunities like that to speak in front of the public is a privilege. So it's not only a chance to compete, but it is also a chance to spread a message. That's why it really gets me, and I think that's why I stayed in Toastmaster until now.
So before 2017, when you joined Toastmaster, were you engaged with kind of public speaking or anything involving public speaking or trainer or teacher, or this is like the first time that you engage in the communication field?
I see. So I actually started quite early. So I was a debater. I would like to still consider myself a debater, but I haven't debated for quite a while now. I started joining the English debate team when I was in high school, actually. And during my university years, I even consider that my major is debating and my minor is my real university major. So I
Mm.
was pretty much heavily involved in English debate. We use British parliamentary as well as the Asian parliamentary and Australian parliamentary system. And actually, English debate really helps me not only in becoming a more engaging and convincing speakers, but also it helps me in shaping critical thinking, as well as the importance of having an evidence-based argument.
Mm.
So to put it in some way, debate was the very first introduction I have into not only public speaking but also public narratives, and it gives me a really good fundamentals on it. And after that, I haven't done debating. I had not done debating actually ever since I graduated from university. And in my job in oil and gas, I did not use public speaking that much. Communication, of course, we communicated every day, but not in the sense like public communication. Until I think in my ninth or 10th year in oil and gas, I worked for a US company called Paradigm, and there I was a business development manager for Asia Pacific. And that is, I think, the first time that I get to use my skill again in a professional setting, because I mostly need to do persuasive presentation to stakeholders and clients. And after Paradigm, I took sabbatical, and that's where I get into Toastmaster. So essentially, public speaking has become inseparable part of my life. I actually, if people looked at me, they would think that I'm an extrovert, therefore I love speaking and all that. Actually, I'm not. I'm actually an introvert who loves to talk about anything but herself. So my one of my biggest weaknesses is that it's very hard for me to talk about myself. I literally like to talk about anything else, but it's quite hard to talk about myself. So Toastmaster is one of the safe place for me to do that, I guess.
So I can see that since you were in debate, so I can see like when you were in the contest that you could think very quickly and find, your speech very quickly. I would say like you think very little and then just you started the speech, I know that it needs practice. Yeah.
Hmm.
After joining Toastmaster for 3 years, even though you have been having a passion to speak, what benefits do you think that you get from Toastmaster?
So aside from a lot of skills that I learned in Toastmaster, like the leadership skill, managerial skill, I think if you're talking about table topic here in specific, the ability to do an impromptu speech, to think on your feet, I think it's very important in my career, because oftentimes if you're trying to meet somebody who's important, they would not have time to talk that much with you. And the moment you met them, it can be just a quick 5 minutes or like 10 minutes conversation with them. It can be an elevator pitch. It can be, okay, convince me why I need your service in 5 minutes. So those sort of thing, these situations happens throughout my entire career. And I think the ability to concoct a speech from table topics, to think on my feet, to think of an idea, not only think of an idea but to articulate the idea clearly and in orderly manner, but also still appeal to the audience, is a really important skills that everyone can use in their career and their life. Because there will be a lot of times when, you know you don't have time to prepare. You are faced with a situation and you need to respond as quickly as possible, but also in the clearest and most logical manner. So the table topic impromptu speech skills actually really helps me in the sense.
Hmm, thank you. And now that you won the champion of table topic speech, maybe if you can share with us if there is any formula, elements, or secrets to win the table topic speech.
Well, table topic is quite different with prepared speech, but also they have the element that's quite similar, because people think that if you're competing in table topic, you do not need to practice, or you don't know the question anyway, so why bother. I think the preparation in table topic itself, the pre-competition preparation is already 70% of the game. It's already 70% of the whole competition. Why? Because if you bother to practice, then especially with virtual contests like this, it's very different with the usual contest. You need to prepare technicalities, sound, visual. How do you want to look like in the screen? What sort of clothes that you need to wear? What's your background? What's the mic that you're going to use? Are you going to use the computer speaker? Are you going to use headsets like this? There's a lot of elements into it. Whether you're framed correctly in the middle, whether you're going to show your elbows or not, how are you pronouncing things? Are your mic clear? Is there any delay? How's your internet connection? All of those technicalities really adds up to the preparation, and just one minor faults can really become a stumbling block later on in the competition. And part of the preparation is not only technicalities but also to practice, because when it comes to table topic, you cannot prepare exactly the same topic that would happen at D-Day, right? But you can prepare with any sort of topics, whether it is the topic that you're comfortable with, you're uncomfortable with, and you get the sense of how yourself as an individual responds to questions. Like, to be honest, I'm a person who believes that if you have a goal, get a coach, and if you have a goal, be a coach. So I'm a coach as well, but I also need a coach. So for my table topic competition, I actually got a coach. So a friend of mine who's also quite fluent in public narratives and public speaking, I asked for his help to be my coach. And what is essentially a coach is doing is not teaching you. A coach gives you an extra set of eyes, an extra set of ears, and an extra set of realities. Because when you're doing the speech, you only rely to your eyes, your ears, and your sense of reality of what's happening. So if you get a coach, then you will have an extra eyes. You might feel like, oh, I look okay, while in fact, Winnie, you're actually unclear. You blend into your background, and that's the sort of feedback that I can use, and that's why I use bright color. I use red during the competition. I wore red during the competition, and that's to be able to be feasible against the white and green background, so that it create contrast. I also use his extra set of ears to not only listen to whether my voice is clear, my pronunciation is clear, my pacing is right, but also the content of my table topic, and ask him to throw me questions that I am comfortable with and I'm not comfortable with, just to get a sense of everything. So be it prepared speech or table topics, you need preparation. Different kind of preparation, but nonetheless, you need to prepare. And the preparation itself, for me, it's already 70% or more of the whole game, right? The more you prepare, the more you get the sense of how you would respond or react to something. When people ask me what to prepare for table topic, I would say that one of the tips that I always have is relate that to your personal experience. So you can get a question, you can get a statement, and you can always answer it in the most generic terms possible. But remember that you have an audience, your judge is also an audience, and your audiences are human. And how to relate to human is actually by telling stories that they can relate to. And what human can relate to is usually an experience that the other human has had, because we all share the same feelings, we all share the same reactions, we all share the same, more or less, emotional states like fear, anger, sadness, happiness, joy, stuff like that. So I always like to say that in table topic, try to imbue that with your personal story. It can be a personal story that directly relate with the answer, or it can be a personal story that it might not seems to relate, but once you start giving meaning to that personal story and can find the connection with the answer of the table topic, with the answer of the statement, or with what you think of the statement, I guess it would add more gravity into the content of your speech and how you relate to your audience.
You said that you have a coach. Is it a coach or mentor from Toastmaster or outside of Toastmaster? And how long have you had a coach?
Uh, it's not a mentor, so I'm a big believer on both mentoring and coaching, and the difference between the two is very stark. When it's a mentor is someone who shows you the rope. It's a long-term development, and usually they show you how to do things. You know, like I personally have um, quite affluent mentors in my life. Right now, I have three. All of them are. We're not talking about Toastmaster. We're talking about life. These three mentors is actually my mentors in my life and in my careers. Those three helps me in navigating not only the energy sector, which is where I'm working at right now, but also helping me navigating the path that I can take into who I want to be in the future. So mentor is more of a long-term thing, and it takes commitment. Those people has been my mentor for years, and right now I'm also a mentor for some people, and I know that it's a commitment. So I know that my mentors does not take main tea lightly. They usually only have 1 until 3 main tea per year, and I try to do the same. I only take like I think maximum 3 main teas a year because that would really require me sharing a part of myself and not only sharing but also showing the rope, teaching as well as giving insight. While coaching is different thing. Coaching is when you want to improve on a very specific matter, right? And this coach that I had, he's not from Toastmaster. I've had him as my coach just for the table topic competition, honestly. So 1 week before the competition, we did 2 coaching sessions before the competition. Why I choose the non-Toastmaster coach? Because I want to go outside the box. Because I need somebody who's literally not familiar with anything that Toastmaster do, our values, how we deliver speech and all that, to give me a fresh set of eyes on how can I improve. Because having a coach meaning that he or she will do an observation of how I'm doing things and will help me to discover the best way to achieve that goal. So for me, that the goal I told my coach was that my goal is to improve my impromptu speech ability, especially in this contest, because it is done virtually. And this is my first virtual speaking contest. So we really focus on the virtual aspects of it. And because my coach is somebody that often held online trainings and online FGD, so he's quite fluent in the psychology of virtual meetings and virtual trainings. That's why I choose a spot that frame myself. I use that door over there because it perfectly framed me. I choose red clothes because it's contrasting with the background. And we also discuss about the distance of my laptop camera and the door so that the audience can see my whole hand movement and my gesture so that my hands does not appear comes and go out of camera like this. So and also where should I move, if I move right, if I move left, what should I do, how far I can move the gesture and all that. So I use him to help me point out things that I'm definitely missing. So that's the coach that I use. But in facing Toastmaster competition, also I've had mentors from Toastmaster. I still consider some of my Toastmaster mentors as my public speaking mentors until now, because this is not my first competition. I've been competing for quite a while since 2017. Uh, I've got the first place as well for table topics, but in Bahasa Indonesia and Bahasa Melayu language in 2017, if I'm not mistaken. And I've also competed in prepared speech in district level for international speech. And I've used I've used the privilege of having Toastmaster mentors in helping me doing the speech. Um, so I guess, and because they're my mentors, they really care of how I develop as a speaker from the beginning of time I'm in that Toastmaster club until now. It's quite different with a coach really. And right now I'm also coaching some of the non Toastmaster speakers in preparing public narrative. But that's coaching, so it really goes deeply into the material that they're preparing, how they're going to deliver it virtually, what are the flows, what are they missing, and stuff like that. So I'm a big believer in coaching and mentoring, both from Toastmaster and non-Toastmaster, because I think mentoring is one of the way to develop others by developing yourself, while coaching is one of the way to reach your goal, be it get a coach or be a coach.
Hmm. I think you mentioned several times that you are also coaching people. Is it, do you mean like professional coaching actually in addition to working full time, then you are also a part-time coach of a freelance?
Uh, okay, so one of my passion is actually sharing about public speaking, public narratives, and storytelling. So as part of my give back or as part of my extracurricular activities, I'm involved in a lot of foundations, a lot of non-profit organizations, and I help them develop public narratives. I help several initiatives like there are this initiative there this youth initiative called Think Policy. It is a collective of people who cares about public policy making in Indonesia, and we already have 2 boot camps. So we select from a lot of applicants. We select several numbers of them, and we empowers them on public policy. So we got people graduated from Harvard Kennedy School of Government, the Ivy Leagues, Oxford, and Cambridge as the facilitators. And I'm privileged enough to be one of the facilitators as well. So I became, and still I am, the facilitator for public narrative and public speaking for Think Policy. So the second bootcamp were divided into groups called capstone groups, and these capstone groups needs to present their solution on several problem that this nation is facing in regards to the organization that serves as their client. For example, the issues of public-private partnership, the issue of effective communication during COVID, the issue of alternative resources as tools to decentralize economy and all that. And I help these capstone groups in crafting their stories. I help them in crafting their visual because it's presentation. I also help them in their delivery later on in the webinar. So that's one of the extracurricular that I take. So I do a lot of give backs because I believe that the only way that I can learn is by teaching others. But I also do a side professional coaching outside of my job. Usually, I help startups as well as social medium enterprise to help them doing their pitching. So pitching is one other form of public narrative or public speaking. It's not a speech; it's a pitch. Usually, you do that to you do that to get capital or get funding or get partnership from an investor. So I help startups and small medium enterprise craft their pitching skills as well. I also help some professionals in developing their personal and profession and team skills in order to do a more audience centric, a more intimate presentation. Like for example, there's this oil and gas company that I help their engineering team in developing their presentation skills so that it does not sound too technical, so that people can relate to any technical presentation, and so that they can think of presentation not as just a boring slides that you have to read, but as a way to connect to people, a way to connect to the director board, a way to connect to the fellow team, as well as the way to connect to the stakeholders and clients. So yeah, I do both professional coaching as well as the nonprofit coaching as part of living my life based on my purpose and sharing the knowledge that I already have.
Mm, thanks for sharing. I think one last question is that I think you have a very detailed preparation and really prepare very well. Uh, do you always dream to be, let's say, a winner of the world champion, or do you have a certain goal that you want to reach?
Right. Of course, I have a certain goals that I want to reach, but ever since 2016, I started to learn mindfulness and I started to learn about well-being, mental well-being, as well as physical well-being. I realized that my goal is now no longer a quantity, is no longer a title, put it that way. My goal is more of a quality. So for the table topic speech district competition, my goal at that time, I have two goals. First of all, I have to ace delivering speech virtually because I've never delivered speech virtually. I've done thousands of Zoom meetings. I've done trainings through Zoom, but giving speech through Zoom, I've never done that. That's my first one. So the goal is to get through that with excellence. And the second goal is actually to improve my impromptu speech skill because I see myself as somebody who can use the impromptu skills even 20 or 30 years from now. So I will always grow. And I think to set the goal on something that is qualitative like that, more of a quality, helps me more because regardless the title, regardless the championships, whether I won or lost, I will focus on the real goal that I have. So if I, for example, if I won a competition but I don't feel like myself is improving, I'm not winning for my standard. But if I lost the competition and I feel like I've been improving greatly from point A to point B, then I consider myself winning. So the goal is there, yes, but the goal is something different. So my ultimate goal is that I can use public speaking, public narrative, and storytelling as a tool not only to influence people, but also to influence a nation on ideas. That's my future goal.
Okay, thank you for sharing. So basically, I think if we can get the takeaway, I think one, I think you use the public speaking basically to reach your dream, to although not in terms of title, but to become who you are and use it as a means to dissipate ideas,
Yes.
maybe like the public policy, like you said, and you really work on it with a lot of practice, and you also use a coach and even have a mentor in Toastmaster, and you also become a coach as well to give back to the community, basically to have maybe new leaders which can also give or dissipate ideas to the public. Okay, thank you very much, Winnie, for the time, and it's been an honor. If there's anything on the last thing you want to convey, please do.
First of all, it's a pleasure to be having this interview. I really don't think I deserve the privilege, really, but I think if there's one thing that I can convey to the listener or those who watch this video is that in life, every now and then you will get the stage. It's not about the spotlight. It's not about the stage. It's not about the trophy that comes with the stage. By the end of the day, the question is, what are you going to do with the stage? It's a choice that each and every one of us has to make. Are you going to use the stage to just fulfill your ego for trophy? That's fine as well. Are you going to use the stage as nothing, basically? Are you going to not use the stage because you're scared? Or are you going to use the stage to convey your message, to convey your vision, to use the stage. It is scary to have the spotlights on. It is scary to have every eyes on you. Everyone dedicate their time to watch you. It is scary, but the time when you feared something the most is usually the time when you have to say something that matters the most. And for me, I think my life is going to be a journey of keep on reminding myself to use that stage to deliver an ideas, to deliver knowledge, to deliver what I believe that can make a world a better place. I guess that's it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Beautiful words. Thanks for sharing, Winnie, and thank you for having you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.